lock her door. But on the day she died, all the men in town did weep, for Mary McGregor finally got some sleep. And we'll drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and fight. We'll drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and fight. And if I see a pretty girl, I'll sleep with her tonight. It's a drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and fight. Well, I once loved a girl, a child I'm told. I gave her my heart, and she gave me a cold. So now I sit standing here, out in the pouring rain. I'll stumble back to Kelly's pub, and cry away me pain. I'll drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and fight. We'll drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and fight. And if I see a pretty girl, I'll sleep with her tonight. And I'll drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and drink and fight. for me. And what I've got to offer is what you get and what you say. You don't seem to understand why I'm hanging around. I've been asked to leave this place all the time. 3 more beers will make me look better. You'll seem pretty and we can get together. 3 more beers will make it alright. 2 in the morning, get out of my life. You'll seem pretty and we can get together. 3 more beers will make it alright. 2 in the morning, get out of my life. 3 more beers will make me look better. You'll seem pretty and we can get together. 3 more beers will make it alright. 2 in the morning, get out of my life. 3 more beers, 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 3 more beers. 3 more beers, 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 3 more beers.
You are currently looking at 2 hours, 46 minutes, and 29 seconds until January 1st, 2018. Tony Jones here. You were tuned in to Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast, doing the simple mathematics, which isn't the strong suit of anybody around here, trying to figure out how many years Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve has been going. And I believe this is our 6th year, but I don't know because I, for a various amount of reasons, don't remember. We did this on the AM dial, then we did it here on Rhode Island Free Radio, but then it was also on the AM dial. And I really cannot quite put my head around how long this broadcast has been going. But as I always like to mention, on my way into the luxurious Rhode Island Free Radio studios, I flipped around the whole terrestrial dial, FM and my beloved AM, and I could not find one broadcast that was live and local except for, of course, us here on Rhode Island Free Radio. Let me introduce to you my cohorts, my partners in crime, my Ed McMahons, for the next 3 hours in studio with me from My Night Out Radio on Rhode Island Free Radio, exclusively on Rhode Island Free Radio. DJ Psycho Eddie is here.
Hello, everybody.
And the one and only, someone who's been with Rhode Island Free Radio since the very beginning. You know him from cable access, you know him from conventions around New England, and you know him from Chuckles' Crypt on Rhode Island Free Radio. Chuckles the Clown is here.
Good evening to you.
And you've been on this broadcast with me for quite some time. AM dial. You made the trek, the hump to the big city on those scary winter nights back in the day.
I miss that building. I really do. That building was creepy.
That building was creepy on New Year's Eve when everybody cleared out. I had a little bit of work to do. And what do I hear? Some thumping in the background. I think it's one of you guys coming back up. I was the only one in the building.
Yeah, like the doors that shook and rattled by themselves.
Not that this building is any less creepier, but it's maybe slightly less creepier than that old building.
Nah, this building's cozy. Nothing creepy about this building. Creeps you out because there's ghosts in here. But there's nothing creepy about this building.
I was just going to bring that out. We had, was it Ken DaCosta from Rise Up Paranormal, and he found a few, what do you call them, abnormalities, or he wouldn't commit to saying what they were. He just found something unusual.
Yeah, well, we came through here as well with our paranormal gear, and like I said, we got some good stuff that was kicking up, including this animatronic snake that only goes off when you have sensory or human contact breaking the plane.
Yeah.
And it went off quite a few times without having anybody in front of this thing.
It also went off in this very room while I was standing outside, punching in the keypad to get in here. I hear it going off, so I said, "Oh, George must be in there," and no, nobody was in here.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Rick and I both from Rise Up Paranormal, or not Rise Up. Rhode Island Paranormal.
PLS.
Yeah. We were inside of here, and we were inside of the factory there, and we caught an EVP I was laying on the floor, an EVP of a man telling me to get off the floor. So it's basically like an employee saying, "Hey, you stop sleeping, get off the floor."
You know, this isn't only one of the only oldest factories in Rhode Island. It's actually one of the oldest factories in the country. Here, you know, at the turn of the Industrial Revolution, or right on the water, was one point water powered. That wheel would turn, and people would work here day and night. You lived in the track housing over here. When that bell went off, you went to work, and when that bell went off, you went home. And this factory was your whole life. So I could definitely see some kind of a paranormal activity happen. Speaking of paranormal activity, and you guys all out there are sick because one of the favorite segments we do every year is we talk about people who died in this past year. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. Chuckles the Clown will bring out all forms nerddom. We talked about 2016 being the year of the nerd, and in my opinion, the year of the nerd, it just continued into 2017. It's probably going to continue into 2018. And to that point, in just a little bit, I want to talk about the conventions that not only Rhode Island Free Radio was a part of this past year, but Chuckles the Clown was there, DJ Psycho Eddie was there. We dipped into some new conventions. We did Paracon, as you just mentioned, so we'll talk about that in a bit. All things entertainment. I want to talk a little bit about music, a little bit about movies, a little bit about food trends this past year, how technology has changed. So, I mean, we'll cover all your 2017 bases, and we'll talk about what we think things are looking like in 2018. So we'll have a little tease of getting into the unfortunate people who died this past year. One of my favorite bands, the Smithereens, not too long ago, Pat, the lead singer, passed away. So we'll hear from the Smithereens up next for you on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast, as we are 2 hours and 41 minutes away from the new year. Here's the Smithereens with Blood and Roses.
Yesterday, saw you standing in the rain. Then I heard you say, I want to love, but it comes out wrong. I want to live, but I don't belong. I close my eyes and I see blood and roses. Flowers in the springtime. October we were wed. Wintertime the roses died. The blood ran cold and then she said, I want to love but it comes out wrong. I want to live but I don't belong. I close my eyes and I see blood and roses.
standing by your side. I'm standing by your side. I don't care how long it takes. I don't care how long I gotta wait. I don't care what I got to do. The only thing I want, baby, is just to be with you. Standing by your side. Standing by your side. Standing by your side. Standing by your side.
Pretty mama's got a lot to say now. She likes to talk, talk, talk. Her sexy mouth is faster than her brain explains. She's got to know just what it is about her, yeah. The obvious escapes her face in the head. I need a vaccine, yeah. You're hot, but you're a problem. I need a vaccine for you. You're hot, but you're a problem. Outbreak at MGH, and you wonder why. We've gone from herd immunity to herd stupidity. We listen to TVs. We listen to pretty people say please. But this media virus is a curable disease. I need a vaccine, yeah. You're hot, but you're a problem. I need a vaccine for you. You're hot, but you're a problem. Need a vaccine, yeah. You're hot, but you're a problem. I need a vaccine for you. You're hot, but you're a problem. I need a vaccine, yeah. You're hot, but you're a problem. I need a vaccine for you. You're hot, but you're a problem. I need a vaccine, yeah. You're hot, but you're a problem. I need a vaccine for you. You're hot, but you're a
A little desk right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. You're hot, but you're a problem. The name of that one. Before that, you heard from the great Lee Fields, Standing by Your Side. Before that, and unfortunately someone who will highlight in our People Who Died block coming up in just a little bit, we heard from the Smithereens, Blood and Roses, one of my favorite tunes from them. Just one of the greatest bands of that genre. We kicked off the program at the top of the hour with a little Dropkick Murphys. Then we heard from Oingo Boingo. Then we heard some Blindside Thunder, Tequila, and a band that debuted some music here on Rhode Island Free Radio this past year. We heard from the Gunks, Three More Beers. You were tuned in to Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast, and you have 2 hours, 29 minutes, and 51 seconds until the new year. Now, I understand that a lot of folks, they are staying home this evening. We're having not only a cold snap here in New England where our studios are located, but there's a cold snap across the country, and a lot of people are opting out of the traditional revelry this year. And I know I mentioned it in past years, but I have gone to Times Square twice. One of those times I was a real young feller, and that was before September 11th. And then I went again after September 11th, and it's just a whole different ball game, whole different situation. It is, again, like that. You will see heavily armed snipers throughout Times Square. You'll see barricaded areas. You have to get there. You have to stay in your area. If you have to use the facilities, let's just say you're on your own. You're not allowed to walk around. You're not allowed to find a facility. So I could see why folks have decided to, less and less attendance and things with that nature being out in public. Unfortunately, it's just the times that we live in. But if you are home or if you are heading out, thank you for tuning in, hanging out with us. We will have some of the best music for you for your New Year's Eve soundtrack. And we'll talk about the year past, and we'll talk about the year coming up. And if you're starting your evening, if you're starting your party, you've probably broke out some beverages. That's why I like to get to 3 more beers and tequila at the top of the hour. But you're probably, cooking some food. You're going to get ready to have some food. Maybe you're going to have a big meal tomorrow. I know I have a big New Year's Day meal consisting of surf and turf. So we have some great steaks, and I don't really do too much shellfish, so I just have a couple pieces of shrimp. That's the surf of my surf and turf, but I'll chow down on some steak. Do you guys do a big meal for the first New Year's Day meal?
No. Chef Boyardee in a can and maybe some ramen noodles.
Wow.
That's about it. No,
Moving on up.
Yeah, no, actually, craft services went all out tonight.
Yeah.
I got to say, bow-tie pasta with chicken sausage, jalapeno, whatever, chili, Allie's Donuts, imported all the way
Yep,
from North.
Those are freshly imported. We also have various adult beverages available this evening for us to imbibe. So, one thing that we weren't allowed to do when we were on the AM dial, a big FCC no-no, is to get trashed while you're on the air, as you can imagine. So,
Which I think in the last 2 years I've done pretty much on a weekly basis.
So if you go to facebook.com/Tony Jones Show, you follow me on Twitter at Tony Jones NRI. I will be monitoring social media throughout the broadcast tonight. How do folks get a hold of you guys?
You want to go ahead first?
There's lots to get a hold of me, but right now the easiest way to get a hold of me is through Facebook, Albert H. Berger. Send me a message that way, and I will get back to you as quick as possible. I don't really check. I'm pretty bad at not checking my email address, which is, well, you can send it to me anyways. The Chuckles and Laughs Show at yahoo.com.
Yahoo!
Yeah, or the Chuckles and Laughs Show at it's a .com. So it's not too hard to get a hold of me, but the easiest way is through Facebook.
And for me, it's DJ Psycho Eddie on Facebook. It's also My Night Out Radio at Verizon.net is the email. I also have DJ Psycho Eddie at Verizon.net. MyNightOutRI.com for the website for the radio show itself and the upcoming events. Facebook, like I said, DJ Psycho Eddie or My Night Out Radio. If you want to get a hold of me on Twitter or Instagram, look me up, DJ Psycho Eddie.
Now, for those of you, because I know, each show here has its own audience, but then some people just check in from time to time. Some folks just go to Rhode Island Free Radio. They listen to the playback. So if you're not aware, My Night Out Radio deals with local music, but also a lot of things related to hospitality, food. I would, and Eddie would consider ourselves to be foodies. We're very knowledgeable about food. And I want to talk a little bit about...
That's a nice way to skirt around saying we're two fat bastards.
I was just talking to the guys as we get started that, I need to go back on the straight and narrow tomorrow. I've just been eating like a complete slob from Christmas to New Year's. I got to the gym once, and this is not a lie. This is not hyperbole. I got to the gym once this past week, and as I was sweating, my sweat smelled like Christmas cookies because I had eaten so many cookies the night before that it was coming out of my pores.
Well, for me and my family, we get together used to be Christmas Eve. This is the first year we haven't had the entire family together on Christmas Eve. So it was just my wife, myself, and my parents. So of course we had to do 47 dishes of fish, and then Christmas Day we go over to my wife's family's house, and then just yesterday my whole family get together because we didn't get together on Christmas Eve, so everyone cooked for that. And between all the rich foods, buttery foods, and all the alcohol, every time I pass gas, I'm very cautious because I know I'm like a half a push away from soiling my britches.
Yeah, I was a pretty rough because have had being on a diet and then just going ham. Let's just say I was in a similar situation. Now, because of the nature of our media here, I'm getting some real time feedback that folks are having a hard time hearing you as you talk about soiling yourself. So
Okay.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to repeat at least the tail end of that story.
If you're getting feedback, it should sound much better now. I got together with my parents, just me, my wife, my parents, Christmas Eve, and we did all the different fish. And then Christmas Day, we get together with my wife's family. And then after that, just yesterday, we went together with my whole family, all my brothers and sisters, and nieces, nephews. There's about 30 of us got together. And I've been eating such horribly rich foods and so much of these horribly rich foods that every time I pass gas, a stick of butter might slide out.
Now, when you're having a meal with your family and your parents are in their 80s, there's only one group there that should be soiling themselves. That's the older people. But
Well, actually, there's two groups because the youngest person in the family is only about 7 months old, 6 months old. Like that. And then my parents are probably have better constitutions than the rest of us because in their 70s, they're planning on 110, 120 day cruise vacations.
Wow.
And yeah, you couldn't stop them on a bet. I went on a cruise with my parents, a 12-day cruise, or as they called it, an appetizer, and just trying to keep up with them. I got tired. I just, I'm going to sit here on the beach with a bucket of beer. If you need me, just wave. I can't get to you quickly, but I'll get to you eventually.
it is 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 57 seconds until the new year. We have a lot to get to on this broadcast, and I have some music coming up, and then after the music, we'll talk about a little bit more about food. I want to look back on the food trends of 2017, where it's heading in the future. But before that, we'll have two from Electric Frankenstein. Another shout out to everybody out there tonight. This track is called Hammered, right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast.
Don't get It's a lonely road. Hope that you and through your friends. Special lessons are out there. I'm the one full of hate. Around the time you made me wait. Don't despise what you say. I'm living senseless misery. You got me in a hostage situation. Feels like I'm in Hell's Kitchen. You got me in a hostage situation. Feels like I'm in Hell's Kitchen. You got me in a hostage situation. Feels like I'm in Hell's Kitchen. You got me in a hostage situation. Feels like I'm in hostage situation.
Hostage Situation, the name of that one. A little Electric Frankenstein right here on Tony Jones's Rockin New Year's Eve broadcast. Before that, well, it was a double shot of Electric Frankenstein. We heard Hammered, and far be it from me, for the love of God, far be it from me to tell anybody how to live their life. However, if you are heading out, you know what I'm going to get to here. Stay safe. Uber is your friend. That's not coming from a hypocrite. That's coming from someone who had a Dewey back in the day. And I'm not talking about Huey, Dewey, and Louie. I'm talking about a D. Well, at the time it was called a DUI. And Chuckles, you may remember I didn't have my license for about 6 months because Chuckles may remember because he was one of the people I had to hit up for a ride every once in a while. So don't worry. It's not worth it. Hit Uber, hit Lyft. I'll be out to the wee hours of dawn. Hit me, hit somebody. It's not worth it. And that's all I'm going to say. You're an Uber driver. You understand.
I am an Uber driver, but there was actually I can't even remember who posted it, but basically they broke it down. The average Uber ride costs anywhere from $15 to $25, depending on how far you're going. The average DUI will run you roughly $10,000, and the average funeral is going to run you anywhere between $7,000 and $12,000. Right. So it's it may suck having to cough up an extra $20-$30 after you've been drinking all night, but the alternatives, they could be counterproductive.
It's just not worth
getting
it.
charged for vehicular manslaughter, not a good way to start off the new year.
However, there is an Uber story I have to share with you guys,
and that's one of the things that I want to get to is talking about how things are changing, and Uber is really saving a lot of lives.
Well, it's saving a lot of lives, but it's also costing a lot of money in cleaning cleaning efforts. For those of you who don't know, I do drive for Uber.
And earlier this year, one of our most popular broadcasts, we did an Uber roundtable right here on Rhode Island Free Radio.
That's right. Well, just Friday night, I had picked up my last run of the evening. It was about 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning, and I figured nice and easy. I picked them up. They were going from Providence to Warwick. 15-minute ride, no big deal. So I get them in, and I could tell one of them was not going to make it. So I very nicely handed her a bag. I found out what her name is. I'm not going to say her name here. I said, here's your bag. This is going to save you a lot of money because if you puke anywhere but in this bag, it's usually about $200 to $250 for cleaning fees. Halfway to Warwick, I hear the girl throwing up. And I can hear it hitting the bag.
Oh,
so not only I'm like kind of grossed out because someone's puking in my car, but I can hear it in the bag, and
not on your upholstery.
Exactly. So she's all good. She closes up the bag. I give her another bag to hold on to just in case she needs it again. And I hear in the conversation, well, after you've had a kid or two, you don't have the control of your bladder like I used to. So I'm just cringing because I know where this is going. And then she's talking about having to change. So I get them home. I hop out because, if she opens the door, she's going to hit the pavement. And sure enough, she opens the door, and I stepped in quick enough to catch her from falling on the ground. And as soon as she got up, I could see this big-ass wet spot where she was sitting.
And that wasn't because she found you attractive.
No, because her boyfriend was sitting right behind her in the third row. So, God. So, long story short, a lot of Resolve, a lot of cleaning fluids to remove the other fluids. At 3 o'clock in the morning is not what you want to be doing. But you know what? The cleaning fee more than made up for me freezing my tuchus off for about the 15, 20 minutes it took for me to do what I had to do.
So I want to talk about some of the food trends in 2017, and that dovetails perfectly into one of the big food trends of this past year, and that is home delivery. Things like Uber Eats or Grubhub, where you can get pretty much, depending on where you live, any food that you want to your door. Uber Eats is available here.
Uber Eats is available
just
in the
in the
Rhode
city,
Island
right?
market. It's also available in most of the Massachusetts market. In fact, I saw it. I don't personally do it because if I wanted to deliver pizza, I'd get a job delivering pizza.
Yeah.
I don't want the smell of food in my truck.
Especially pizza, hot wieners. There's some things that just stick in your truck.
That's what I was going to point out. As I was driving through Cranston just the other day, Oneyville, New York System, Cranston on Reservoir Avenue, right on this billboard, says that you are now able to order wieners through Uber Eats. And that just drove it home where every station there's going to be something delivering, and if you want wieners at 2 o'clock in the morning, now you can do it.
Uber should just have a car that is the wiener car and only delivers wieners. Now, another point that you just dovetailed in, and this isn't planned out, it's just some folks here with the gift of gab. One of the other food trends of this past year that is definitely going to be pushing into the new year is edibles. Now, if you don't know what edibles are, chances are you're listening to the wrong station, but edibles are a snack that is also a marijuana dose, for lack of a better term. And talking about being able to get something at 2 o'clock in the morning, edibles.
It has a THC content.
Right.
I mean, it could be a basic lollipop. It could be pretty much anything. If you can make it, it has any type of a fat in it. THC resins get added into it very easily, and the edibles that's what people are doing. You don't want to smoke. I mean, even if they're smoking with a water pipe, you're still inhaling carcinogens and whatever's into you, which
or some people just don't like smoke in general. They just can't handle it.
I mean, some people have lung issues, what have you.
I'm going to have a big fat Drew Estate cigar at the beginning of the new year tonight. So I do not fall into that category.
No, but some people don't, like if they have asthma or whatever. And so what they do is they'll do an edible. Now, I've seen everything from Reese's or the faux peanut butter cups, or the like I said, lollipops, gummy bears, you name it. I've seen it out there, and there are people that do amazing things, and it tastes good. It tastes exactly like what it's supposed to taste like. You can't tell there's a content in there until it starts kicking in.
Yeah. You can get edibles in Maine, Massachusetts, and Nevada, and in just a few hours' time in California. And in the new year, recreational marijuana is going legal in California. It's going to go legal in Canada. So I think we're going to see this edibles thing blow up.
A few phone calls to a few friends. There are also edibles in Rhode
Sure,
Island.
yeah.
However, we're not supposed to talk about those because those are technically illegal.
But if you need our address, you just hit us up on social media and go ahead and let us know.
Yeah, if anyone wants to tell us, or if even better, we could meet you in Massachusetts to pick them up where it's legal. We'll do them there, and then we can come home.
We could call Uber to get home.
Exactly. I'm sure we have plenty of Uber driver friends that would be more than happy to deal with me in an intoxicated state.
One of the food trends for 2017, which I don't necessarily agree with because it's something that I've been doing for as long as I can remember, but having breakfast or brunch 24 hours a day, having breakfast foods for supper. Chuckles, you and I used to have breakfast foods at Bickford's at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
so
it's nothing new.
I don't know if that's necessarily a trend or.
Well, it's more of a trend now because.
I mean, I like
mainstream.
brunch because I wake up late. You know, I don't like to be up early in the morning, so brunch is great for me.
I'm not a morning person either. But the thing is, once McDonald's starts doing breakfast all day, that's when you kind of know that, this is becoming a trend that everyone and anyone's going to hop on the bandwagon. Brunch is simply enough. I mean, you could have breakfast for dinner and what have you, but having, especially a brunch buffet, where you can get prime rib, eggs, and just like 2 or 3 different meals combined into one.
Yeah,
that's the really selling point for me, because there's nothing better than freshly scrambled eggs and a nice big slab of prime rib.
And back to meal delivery for a second. I know a lot of people have started doing the Blue Apron and the other Blue Apron type things where the ingredients are delivered to your house, allegedly fresh, and then you just have to do the cooking portion. I know quite a few people who have gotten into that in this past year. I hate going to the grocery store, so if I knew how to cook, I could kind of see that working for me.
Well, here's all the ingredients, some assembly required.
Yeah.
No, I mean that it's a great thing. Now I'm very partial towards Peapod because I hate going to those stores,
especially this past holiday season. I mean, like, it was nuts.
Well, I mean, just a few weeks ago, I told you the story about how I almost killed an 11-year-old at a buffet. There have been several occasions in grocery stores where I have had less than a cherub-like demeanor. And more and more I'm realizing I should not be in public when A, I'm hungry, and B, when shopping is involved. So Peapod has been it's kept me out of jail. So this is one of those things that I really think is, once it takes even more traction than it already has, the delivery fees are next to nothing.
Part of the problem I have at the groceries, and this is probably just emblematical of living in a small town, is that I bump into people that I know at the grocery store, people that want to talk to me, and I go in for 5 or 6 items, and I end up sitting in the grocery store bullshitting all afternoon instead of doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's one of the perks with what I do. I don't talk to people on a normal basis. I am not. I want to word this carefully. I am not people friendly when I'm not at a show. Hey, aren't you? Yes. I'm very good with the one-word answer, and then I could tuck and cover and just like duck out of a conversation quickly. But if it's someone I want to talk to, like if she's really cute. Hey, aren't you? Why, yes, I am. And what's your name, ma'am?
Ladies.
Hi, doll. But no, it's depending on the person. I mean, there's some people, when you see them in the grocery store, you like try to hide behind the cereal or anywhere you can squeeze in just so they'll walk past you and not notice you. And it's happened. And then there's also been cases where I saw someone, I said hi, and they were, I guess they don't want to talk to me anymore because they put up the hand to the side of their face.
Oh, jeez.
Now, this is a person.
You get that a lot?
only once this has happened, and you probably know who I'm talking about. The person, a female, she's got to be, she's a big girl. She's done a lot of promotions back in the day. Mostly with the heavy metal crowd. Let's not say any names, just in case they watch.
I ran into her at the grocery store not too long ago. We live in the same town, and we were in there bullshitting for 20 minutes.
Well, I ran across her husband, who, hey, how you doing, pal? Blah blah blah. I see her in the distance. I say, hey, how you doing? She puts up her hand on the side of her face, as if to I don't want to talk to you.
That
However,
hurts.
The other 399 pounds that's not being covered by the hand, I don't recognize. I'm fat. I realize that, but
we're both at a grocery store, right?
When you're in a grocery store and people know you from all angles, especially because the shape you're in, which is usually round, you can't hide who you are by putting your hand to the side of your face. I hate to break the news to you.
And before we move on, one of the big food trends of 2017, by the way, if you follow me on social media, I just posted this article. It's from Eater, Jamaican cuisine, which is something that you turned me on to a few years back. So
Yeah, I've been a very big proponent of Caribbean cuisine, not just Jamaican, but the entire Caribbean. Now, I went to what was it? It was the Fat Squirrel, but it was also
Halfway Tree.
Halfway Tree. Thank you. And the food there is excellent. It's a very poor cuisine, meaning the people that originated it didn't have money, so they had to make the best of what they had. So you're going to have the oxtail, the ackee seeds, the whole fish, the souse, the whole chicken boiled down. Very basic, very rudimentary, very let's extend this meal as much as we can with rice and pasta, but the spices, the spice palette that they use is huge, and if you start adding a lot of spices and the heat starts building up, it almost gets to be an addictive quality. You have to have that chili fix.
And that's one of the things that a lot of the people that follow this type of thing are talking about. One of the trends going into the new year, based off of people being interested in adventurous eating, is whole animal cuisine, just like my ancestors did, where if you caught a buffalo, you used every single part of that animal. You didn't waste anything. And
nose to tail.
Right.
I have no problem with that.
I guess that's what they're saying is going to be one of the trends in 2018. Now, there's some things like I'm just not interested in bone marrow and
bone marrow. Don't knock it, man. It's
brains,
just meat butter.
Rocky Mountain oysters. I can't get into.
Okay, everything you're saying I've had is absolutely delicious.
He's eating right now. Let's get back to the music, as we are currently 2 hours, 1 minute, and 18 seconds until the new year. You are tuning in to Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. After this block of music, let's talk a little bit about the cons. We were at Rhode Island Comic Con not too long ago. We added Terracon and Kineticon to our list this past year. We were also at Paracon, so we'll talk about cons. And for those of you that aren't hip to the lingo, that is conventions. We'll talk about that after this music. A new band I got turned on to this past year. Love them. They're heavily in rotation on the Tony Jones Show. We're going to hear from Five of the Eyes up next. This track is Wasteland, and you're going to hear it here in 2017 on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast.
Shotgun
walked out in the moonlight, crazed, unable to fight. And you stayed behind and stayed up late. You left the lights on as a vigil in the night. You woke me up to burn me down, the only time I feel alive is in the heat, reaction creeps. I want to burn this city down. Your smile is full of pain that I have caused, but not all is lost. Broken pieces, mirror daydreams, cut my fingers trying to put them back together. Come to me, my love and savior. Your open arms are enough for me to surrender. Those that shatter leave pieces on the floor. Those that shatter leave pieces on the floor. You woke me up to burn me down, the only time I feel alive is in the heat, reaction creeps. I want to burn this city down. Broken pieces, mirror daydreams, cut my fingers trying to put them back together. Come to me, my love and savior. Your open arms are enough for me to surrender. Your open arms are enough for me to surrender. Your open arms, oh. You woke me up to burn me down, the only time I feel alive is in the heat, reaction creeps. I want to burn this city down. Broken pieces, mirror daydreams, cut my fingers trying to put them back together. Come to me, my love, into your open arms. I'll surrender.
Fish don't fry in the kitchen.
Organize the whoopee stick in the ham wallet. Cattle prod the oyster ditch with the lap rocket. Batter dip the cranny axe in the gut locker. Retrofit the pudding hatch, ooh la la, with the points water. If I get you in the loop when I make a point to be straight with you, then in lieu of the innuendo, in the end, no, my intento, I'm Brazilian wax poetic, so pathetically, I don't want
Kilo, Foxtrot, uniform, Charlie, Kilo. Marinate the nether rod in the squish mitten. Power drill the yippee bog with the dude piston. Pressure wash the quiver bone in the bitch wrinkle. Cannonball the fiddle cove, ooh la la, with the pork steeple. If I get you in the loop when I make a point to be straight with you, then in lieu of the innuendo, in the end, no, my intento, I'm Brazilian wax poetic, so pathetically, I don't wanna beat around the bush. Foxtrot, uniform, Charlie, Kilo. Foxtrot, uniform, Charlie, Kilo.
Coming out of a little Bloodhound Gang right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. Chuckles, what's the name of that one?
Foxtrot, uniform, Charlie, Kilo.
That'll keep us out of trouble. Before that, we had two from Five of the Eyes, Mirror and Wasteland. We currently all have 1 hour, 48 minutes, and 45 seconds until Monday, January 1st, 2018 local time here. Now, that doesn't help you. Folks listening around the world, Germany and Japan have checked in with us, and I believe for some of them, it's already the new year, so the countdown, the timing doesn't help, but thank you for tuning in and hanging out and checking in. New Year's Eve right here, your soundtrack, but also very important information you'll get throughout this broadcast. In just a little bit, we'll talk about people who died, talk a little bit about music, the top tunes of 2017, talk about movies, TV, technology, all that good stuff as we look back and look forward. But looking back into 2017, by the way, my name is Tony Jones. DJ Psycho Eddie is here. Chuckles the Clown is here. And all three of us participate in conventions throughout New England. And Rhode Island Comic-Con was the last one we attended a few months back. But we also added two new cons to the list this past year. We were at the, which was defunct and then refunct. We were at Terracon this past year, and also at Kineticon, which happened at Foxwoods Resort Casino, where not only did I have a great fun weekend, I got to meet Ric Flair, but I also spent a little bit too much money on the one-armed bandits at Foxwoods. And definitely left there a little bit light in the wallet, or a little bit lighter in the wallet than I expected throughout the weekend there in Connecticut. I thought Terracon was great. I had a blast at that con. It was, more of a con for the fan, a little bit more laid back. Definitely no waiting outside in line, no elbowing old ladies out of the way to get through the aisles. It was definitely a convention for horror fans. That was another great weekend. And Rhode Island Comic-Con, they get a lot of hate, and I've always had professional dealings with those guys, but man, they got tore up again this year. For people were complaining about the layout, people were complaining to the organizers of the con about the parking, which you may or may not know they have no control over. And they got a lot of hate mail this past year. It's unfortunate to see, but I'm always sticking up for them. So, did you guys have any particular con experiences this past year?
The only thing I saw, and the only thing that I could see where people were getting upset, is because the rules applied to everybody.
Yeah, people don't like that.
But why does this rule apply to me? I run a booth, or I'm whoever. No one cares who you are. If you have to go around the entire Dunkin' Donuts Center again, it's because you went the wrong way. Friday they started it. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all 3 days. If you were going counterclockwise, you were going the wrong way around the Dunkin' Donuts Center. When you got to the end, you couldn't cross that strip of cloth. You had to go all the way around. Suck it up. That's if you were there for more than one day and you got that wrong on the second and third day, you're just an idiot. Other than that, I mean, I didn't have any problems at all with getting into any of the panels. All the panels were very well timed. Number one, the attendance on them. I mean, it was like military drills. People went out, next group went in, boom, that went off. And they went flawlessly through 3 days worth of panels because I literally stayed up on that upper floor most of the time checking out all those panels. And I have to say I've done the most panels I've ever done at a convention at this past Rhode Island Comic Con.
It was great for me to be able to catch up with Ric Flair because, unfortunately, soon after, he's fine now, but soon after his time at Connecticut, he took a turn for the worse. I met him at the con, and he was in pretty rough shape, and he took a turn for the worse just a few months later. So I didn't want to have that moment of regret of him passing away, and it looks like he's in much better shape, especially for his age and for the amount of abuse that he's taken over the years, surviving a plane crash, and being someone who really lived his gimmick. He was the consummate showman. If you saw the ESPN 30 on 30, I guess on that he claimed that he slept with over 10,000 women throughout his professional wrestling career. Anything exciting for you with the cons this year, Chuckles?
A lot of good cons this year. My favorite always is Ocean State Paracon.
Yeah.
Ken runs a great deal out there, and it goes for a good cause. And it's a little easier for me to interact with the fans. It's not as crowded and get to deal with a lot of the paranormal, which I love the paranormal. If you don't listen to Chuckles Crypt, you don't know what I'm talking about. I had no problems with any of them. Terracon was great.
Yeah.
Connecticut I really liked. That was small, and I got to meet a good friend of mine now that I talk back and forth with them from that con. A lot of good times. I mean, the best thing was this year at Rhode Island Comic Con was meeting one of my all-time favorites and my role models, Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah.
That was great, and to find out how much of a nice guy he really is, because in the celebrity world, you really do roll the dice to see if the guy's going to be a good person or they're going to be a extreme jackass.
Or they're just having a bad day, and the day that you meet them, they're whatever, they got their rag on.
Weird Al was cool. I met him like all 3 days, so I talked to him all 3 days, and every day he was smiling and happy, and he was great to be there. I, however, did go the wrong way quite a few times. But I got to go through the rope. No one stopped me.
That's because this past year was the year of it, and everybody was scared of you.
Yeah, there was no stop. And I got to go across the bridge, and no one stopped me. It's one of those things, it's like, I'm going across. If you don't know, like, I have a child, and they would tell me that I'm going outside with the kiddo. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not taking my kid out in this cold and climbing up the stairs.
Yeah.
You had props, that's why.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the kid, you were marching your backside outside.
Also, those security guards are making minimum wage, so eventually they just must get sick of just go.
I did wear one of them down. I was coming from the Omni where they were having the Geek Fest. I watched one of the films that they had over there, and I was coming back in to the convention center. Now, I had left my jacket at a friend's table. All I got on is a short sleeve shirt. It's cold as a booger out there. PG'd it up for you. So I went to the closest door, which is right there on the corner of the convention center. I walk in the door, and the guy looks at me and says, well, you're going to have to go around to the press entrance. Not even the main entrance. You have to go around to the press entrance because you have press credentials. Mm-hmm. I said, look, pal, I got no shirt on. It's about 20 degrees outside. There is a line that still extends completely around this building, and you want me to go to the farthest possible point. And by the time I was done explaining to him the hardship I was going through...
And he remembered that he made minimum wage.
He looked at me and just said, you know what, you got your press pass? Yeah. He put me through the metal detector. Just go up the escalator. And that was it. I mean, I talked my way in through But other than that, if I had a kid, I would have had no problem at all. I don't want a kid for that reason.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll let you borrow mine if you need to get through there. She's a good girl. No, I have to say, though, there was one con we weren't at, but I partaked in. I put on some coverall, and I went to. I was very impressed with it. Hasbro Con, which was extremely cool. It had stuff from Transformers, G.I. Joe, all sorts of toys there. It was mainly a kiddo, but there was a lot of big kiddos going there like myself. That was a cool con. You paid to get in, and it was a first come, first serve to whoever you got the autographs for. You didn't have to pay for them again.
Oh, nice.
Which that was like really cool because Mark Wahlberg was there. Stan Lee was there, of course, again. His last appearance on the East Coast, my ass.
You got boned.
But no, they were there, and it was really cool to see some of the Transformers vehicles were there as well, which was really cool. So Rhode Island had a lot of cool cons this year.
And it's good to see that con went off for me personally as a Hasbro stockholder because I guess Friday it was a little slow attended. They were getting nervous. And then the rest of the weekend, the con was just nut to butt, as they say. But
it was a little pricey.
Slow start, yeah.
I will say that. It was like a little pricey to get in, but you got a lot of free stuff. And you got, like I said, you got the autographs were included inside of it. And the kids, they had a blast at this thing. I mean, they had Nerf wars set up where you had all Nerf like templates. You could go shoot each other with the Nerf guns. And they had everything there for boys and girls. Of course, it was a little too old for my daughter, so she got a lot of stuff that she's not going to be able to play with for the next 4 years. But
that's what eBay was for.
Hey, some of this stuff is quality stuff, and you're not going to get it in the store. So I'm stashing that stuff. It's like thank you.
Said, that's what eBay's for.
Yeah, a good con. The Terracon was great.
Yeah.
Like I said, but my favorite still is Ocean State Paracon. Those guys put on a great show, and we've been doing this since they've started. And DJ Psycho Eddie, this is your second year playing the music there.
Actually, this was my last year playing the music there.
Last year?
Yeah, last year was the last time I'm doing that.
You don't DJ no more.
I retired from DJing. I sold off all my equipment. The only thing I have left is a laptop and maybe one or two cables. Everything else is gone. So I actually spoke with Ken, who runs it, just the other day, and I explained to him why I got out of doing it, and if he needed help set up or voice-wise and whatever, I'll help him, but I just can't do the full setup for 2 days and then all the music and everything. It's time to pass the torch to someone, maybe someone like yourself.
Oh, no. I'm not doing I got enough stuff on my plate. I don't need to be doing DJing.
Which, by the way, DJ Psycho and Eddie and I managed to somehow go to a paranormal convention and yet still find a way to eat ourselves through a convention.
Good food there. Those food trucks are phenomenal.
I mean, I can't say enough about those guys, The
Gemini burger, the double, oh my God. That thing almost sent me into cardiac arrest. The Hawaiian Ice guy, I don't even know what his name was.
I think just the Hawaiian Ice guy, right? Or the ice cream man.
That's what I was billing him as. I mean, he did cotton candy and everything else, but the mainstay of his business, because, of course, this is in the middle of summer, he made a fortune off the Hawaiian Ice, and I pimped him out at absolutely every possible chance I could. And at the end of the second day, he came up and gave us both free snow cones, which, of course, I think Tony almost lost a foot after
He hooked
that.
me up with some free cotton candy the next day, too.
But, yeah, no, I had a blast there, and unfortunately I won't be going back as an announcer but I will be going back as a patron.
And as a food taste tester.
Oh, God, yeah, that goes without saying.
We are 1 hour, 36 minutes, and 41 seconds until Monday, January 1st, 2018. After the music, I want to talk a little bit about music and what this past year had to offer. I'll talk about the top 10 on the Billboard charts and a little bit about local music, a few good shows that I got to partake in this past year, very memorable shows for me, one of them being someone that I've always wanted to see, and I got to see them, and they were great. Another one of the all-time greats, and let's just say he is definitely up there in age, but it was still great to see him. But we'll get to all that in just a little bit. But up next, we're going to hear from a great, unfortunately now defunct local band called Colorblind. This track is Abducted right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast.
did on you, on you. So long, farewell, I don't you always do. Had my heart, you kept it on you. Nights seem endless now. Time is a fragile framework to be messed with. The hands running past the numbers to the same old circle. Same old circle. So long, farewell, I don't you always do. Had my heart, you kept it on you, on you. So long, farewell, I don't you always do. Had my heart, you kept it on you. Hidden from the upcoming presents, memories and time will fade as time goes on. You feel how it is to be loved again as time goes on. In the same old circle. So long, farewell, I don't you always do. Had my heart, you kept it on you, on you. So long, farewell, I don't you always do. Had my heart, you kept it on you.
Don't start the talking. I could talk all night. My mind was sleepwalking while I'm putting the world to right. Call careers information. Have you got yourself an occupation? All of us always you to stay. All of us always are on their way. And I would rather be anywhere else but today. There was a checkpoint, Charlie. He didn't crack a smile, but it's no laughing party when you've been on the murder mile. Only takes one itch a trigger, one more widow, one less white nigger. All of us only is here to stay. All of us only are on their way, and I would rather be anywhere else but today. Hong Kong is up for grabs. London is full of that.
Oliver's Army, the name of that one. Some Elvis Costello and the Attractions right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. We are 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 2 seconds away from Monday, January 1st, 2018. Before Elvis Costello, we heard two great local band, unfortunately now defunct. We heard from Colorblind, Clouded Dream, and Abducted. And the reason I played that Elvis Costello and the Attractions tune is because one of the live shows that I got to check out this past year that really stuck out in my head was checking out Elvis Costello at the Providence Performing Arts Center. I've been an Elvis Costello fan since I first started listening to rock and roll, and it was great to finally get to see him. Now, I also had press passes for the legendary Bob Dylan, and it was also at PPAC. I don't want to say that it was a bad show because it was a good show. It was great to see Dylan with the full band. Great night, sold out crowd. But you could definitely tell that Mr. Dylan is winding down. He kind of played a few songs and took a break, or he would switch instruments and take a break. But I can't say that it sucked because it didn't suck, but it just he's winding things down, and he's been playing forever, so you got to give him that, and still selling out the venue. But it was I definitely didn't rush out of there stoked about the Dylan show that I just saw, and I actually went to see a local band after that show because it was an early show. Mark Cutler, he played down in the basin of Waterfire that night, and that was a great show. Any live music that you guys checked out this past year that really, really stuck out, where you had that live music buzz at the end of the night?
Yeah, I saw Cooper and Deep Purple.
Nice. Don't forget Edgar Winter.
Yeah, Edgar Winter was awesome. I have to say, I was shocked that even by himself, because he lost his brother there.
Yeah.
By himself was great. Alice Cooper was great. Deep Purple, I left. I'd seen so many bad reviews on YouTube and how bad they sounded. Thank you, YouTube, for giving me that ahead of time and not letting me set through that. Because I only know of 2 Deep Purple songs.
Right.
So, and the biggest one was Smoke on the Water, which I would have had to wait through the whole set to hear that. Whereas Alice Cooper's songs for me was hit after hit after hit.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one that did Mass Exodus after that. It just seemed like everybody after Alice Cooper said, see ya, because the place started to empty out.
And is that a co-headlining tour where they take turns? Alice Cooper's the headliner one night, and then...
I don't know if they did that. They could have. I have to look that up. But when we got Alice Cooper, he was not headlining. He was opening up for him. It's kind of like when Cooper was on the Heaven and Hell tour.
Yeah.
Heaven and Hell wasn't that great. Everybody after Cooper left. It seems to be one of those things. You really, besides when Alice Cooper opened up for the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
A lot of times you go to see Cooper, you don't care about who's next.
Yeah.
And that's really bad business, of course, unless you're bringing out someone like Rob Zombie or the Rolling Stones. You're going to stick around for that stuff.
And Cooper took a deep breath, enjoyed the holidays, and now he's back out on tour. He'll be in our neck of the woods in March.
Yeah.
you got to give him credit.
The weekend after Weird Al is going to be in PPAC, so weekend afterwards. Oh, excuse me, not PPAC. Foxwoods.
One of the casinos.
Yeah,
he's out on the
casinos
casino tour.
Now, it was actually one that you had done an interview with one of the people that were performing that night, Knee-High Fox, Chrissy Fox. I was DJing the show, but, of course, I was in the ballroom. I was overlooking the main stage pretty much the whole night. And it was Knee-High Fox and... Powerman 5000.
Mm-hmm.
They were great. Earlier in the year, Soulfly was a great show too.
Oh yeah.
And I actually, I don't know if you guys know Chuck Mosley passed away this year. I got a chance to work with him the year before at the camp out that I do with Black Sheep Entertainment every year, and those 2 shows were amazing. Chuck Mosley was a great person to just sit down and talk to backstage. I got to say, I went to a lot of shows. I did a lot of shows last year. My ears are still ringing. My ears are clearing up, but I still have that real faint ring in the background from all the shows I did this year. And I use earplugs. That tells you how many shows I've done. But, Knee High Fox and Power Man 5000 has to be, if not the favorite show this year, it's one of the real short list.
So when you take a look at Billboard this past year, I'll just do the top 5 because we're not a mainstream program here, but something just like this, the Chainsmokers and Coldplay, and at number 5, Humble by Kendrick Lamar, number 4, number 3, Bruno Mars. That's what I like. Bruno Mars, I kind of dig as far as mainstream stuff goes, just because it's such a throwback act to old school R&B and things of that nature. At number 2, Daddy Yankee featuring Justin Bieber, surprisingly still hanging in there. And number 1, a little nice Irish boy, Ed Sheeran, Shape of You. Those are the top 5 album sales from Billboard.
You're going to have to print up flashcards to tell me who these people are.
Not
on my MP3 playlist.
I don't see anybody perking up here, which is one of the reasons why you can tune into Rhode Island Free Radio and you can tune into our New Year's Eve broadcast and hear music and be exposed to stuff that you're not going to hear anywhere else, which is why independent media is thriving. One thing we saw here locally in music, which I have to lament, but I also enjoy, is the death of 95.5 WBRU, an over-the-air station that I've been listening to since I was a kid. However, since they went off the air, listeners and people contacting and tuning in to Rhode Island Free Radio has gone through the roof because there's not many other places to get alternative rock. So, as much as I was sad to see them go and sad to see a media outlet not be able to make it, on the other hand, come on over. You know where to find us. RIFreeradio.org for all your web entertainment needs. Were you guys WBRU fans?
Yeah, I liked them.
It was one of the few stations you listened to that you couldn't predict what the next song was.
Yeah, yep. Especially when they were doing the retro lunch, and they at one point were doing 5 nights a week of having an hour of local music. So
they put on a lot of good concert shows too. Yeah. Summer concerts, the
for free
ones.
Yep.
Yeah, and one of my favorite shows they put on was with Flogging Molly. Incredible show. Yep. So they definitely did put on a lot of good shows and a lot of good acts when they were around.
Yeah. Sad to see him go, and sad to see a media outlet of that proportion not be able to pay the bills. But
not thinking about it, I turned on 95.5,
and you heard?
I heard
the sweet baby Jesus,
K-Love.
Oh baby!
And I was listening to it for a little while. I was like, this doesn't sound familiar. Wow, I really don't remember.
They're
95
not playing Flagpole
music.
Sitta.
And then they did the call letters K-Love. Wait a minute. Oops.
You are currently 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 50 seconds until the new year. We'll swing back to some local music, and then the segment that you're all waiting for, we'll talk about it. I'll cue up that old Jim Carroll track, and we'll talk about people that died this past year, 2017. Bad year for music, and bad year for sci-fi. So we'll get to those celebrity deaths. Everybody, you morbid SOBs out there, you all want to hear it. You're all hitting me on Facebook and Twitter. Let's talk about people that died. And I don't know what's more sick, the fact that you all want us to talk about it or the fact that we're getting ready and we can't wait to talk about it. But that'll be after the music right here on Tony Jones's Rockin New Year's Eve broadcast. The Dust Ruffles up next for you. This track, Romeo, will be back in just a few minutes.
Our eyes, they meet, and I can read your thoughts. I see where this is going, and know your thoughts. And I can see the lies and the truth and the pain. I can recognize that this is just a game. We play in our minds because we are the same. I want, you want what we can't have. We take, we steal, we make it real. I can recognize that it's not for me.
love the way you talk, speaking little, saying a lot. I love the way you walk, looks like you're dancing but you're not. I love the way you love, you give it everything you got. Oh baby, I'm in love with you. Oh baby, I'm in love with you. Oh baby, could you love me too? Well, every time I knock, I hear you say come in. My heart goes boom boom, just to hold you again. I hear bells ding-a-ling, 'cause you the living in. Oh baby, I'm in love with you. Oh baby, I'm in love with you. Oh baby, could you love me too? I bet you wouldn't think a dance could start a real romance. I bet you wouldn't think a kiss could turn me on like this. But let me tell you like it was. Well, yes it did, yes it does. Ow! Oh baby, I'm in love with you. Oh baby, I'm in love with you. Oh baby, could you love me too? Baby, I'm in love. Baby, I'm in love. Oh baby, I'm in love with you. Oh baby, could you love me too? Everything's been wrong since me and my baby party. All day long I'm walking 'cause I can't get my car started. Laid off from my job and I can't afford to check it. I wish somebody come along and run into it and wreck it. Come on, since my baby party, come on. Can't get it started, come on. Can't afford to check it. I wish somebody come along and run into it and wreck it. Everything's been wrong since I've been without you. Every night and day I've been thinking about you. Every time the phone ringing, sound like thunder. There's some stupid jerk trying to reach another number. Come on, since I've been without you, come on. Steady thinking about you, come on. Phone sound like thunder. Some stupid jerk trying to reach another number. Hey! Well, everything been wrong since I last saw you, baby. Really wanna see you, and I don't mean maybe. I'm doing everything trying to make you see that I belong to you, honey, and you belong to me. Well, come on, since I saw you, baby, come on. Don't mean maybe, come on. Trying to make you see that I belong to you, and you belong to me. Well, come on. Well, come on. Well, come on. Well, come on.
Cheddar sniffing glue, he was 12 years old. Fell from the roof on East 29. Kathy was 11 when she pulled the plug. 26 reds and a bottle of wine. Bobby got leukemia, 14 years old. He looked like 65 when he died. He was a friend of mine. Those are people who died, died. 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 They were all my friends that just died. Herbie pushed Tony from the boys club roof. Tony thought that his rage was just some goof, but Herbie sure gave Tony some bitchin' proof. And Herbie said, Tony, can you fly? But Tony couldn't fly. Tony died. Those are people who died, 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 died. They're all my friends and they died. Brian got busted on a narco rap. He beat the rap by ratting on some bikers. He said, hey, I know it's dangerous, but it sure beats Rikers. But the next day he got off by the very same bikers. Those are people who died, died. 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 All my friends and went and died. Teddy sniffing glue, he was 12 years old. Fell from the roof on East 29. Kathy was 11 when she pulled the plug on 26 Reds and a bottle of wine. Bobby got leukemia, 14 years old. Looked like 65 when he died. He was a friend of mine. Those are people who died, who died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, who died. Those are people who died, who died. They're all my friends and when they died. Cheeseburger and Georgie let the gimmicks go rotten. And died of hepatitis in Upper Manhattan. Flying Vietnam, took a bullet in the head. Bobby OD'd on Drano on the night that he was wed. They were two more friends of mine. I miss them, they died. Those are people who died, 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 died. All my friends that just died. Mary took a drive up from a hotel room. Bobby hung himself from his cell in the tubes. Judy jumped in front of his subway train. And Eddie got slit in the jugular vein. Eddie, I miss you more than all the others. This song is for you, my brother. Those are people who died, died. 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 They're all my friends and they died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died. Those are people who died, died.
People Who Died, the name of that one, the Jim Carroll Band, one of my favorite authors who died a few years ago, but not before I had the chance to meet him in New York City, a little place called CBGB's, and have quite the extended conversation with Mr. Carroll, one of my best memories of being in New York. And we were talking about the cons earlier and celebrities, just a down-to-earth guy. It was great to be able to talk with him, and he would have talked with me all night if I wanted to. Before that, we heard two from the Groovy Ghoulies. Quite a few years back, they put out a Chuck Berry tribute album out with about 6 tunes on that. We had two of them, Come On and Betty Jean. And then last time we chatted, I brought you into some great local music, the Dust Ruffles Romeo, the name of that one. My name is Tony Jones. You were tuned in to Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for checking in. If you'd like a shout-out, of course, Facebook.com/Tony Jones Show. I'm on Twitter at Tony Jones NRI. Lenny the Loon checking in with us from scenic West Warwick, Rhode Island. A big shout-out to him. And our friends from Japan checking in. Alex in Germany checking in, who is, I think, going to be heading out this way with his new musical act. And we're going to work on getting him some shows here in the New England area. Again, always happy to send a shout-out. Always happy to play a tune for you, too, if you'd like to request something, you'd like to weigh in on anything social media. You can contact any of us throughout the broadcast. Yes, it is that time. You all want to hear it because you're sick out there, and we're sick in here for wanting to talk about it. People who died this past year. DJ Psycho Eddie is here. Chuckles the Clown is here. I'll go through my list quickly of folks that I am sad to see go. Jerry Lewis. I always thought Jerry Lewis was hilarious, even in those old black and whites with the slapstick comedy. Don Rickles, you know, in my opinion, in the PC world, I don't think you could do that act today. Sad to see him go. George Romero, of course, someone that we've seen at cons throughout the years. It was sad to see Mr. Romero go, but it was also great to see him at such an advanced age, still out there doing what he loved. He was at cons until he passed away. Someone from one of my favorite bands, the Traveling Wilburys. We lost Tom Petty this past year, and unfortunately, in my opinion, underreported because he passed away right near a major American-grown terrorist attack on our own soil. Greg Allman, I was never a huge Allman Brothers fan, but it was sad to see him go. Chuck Berry, of course, just one of the architects of rock and roll. I've been listening to Chuck Berry on vinyl my whole life. Sad to see him go. David Rockefeller, yes, one of the richest men to ever walk the earth, but getting into the philanthropy through the family later, died at 101, and also a man who stood 6 feet 10 inches tall. So a little cosmic connection for me and David Rockefeller. Those were the big ones for me that I can think of so far. And Fats Domino on the rock and roll side, and not somebody that I want to celebrate, but Charles Manson, of course, passed away not too long ago. Those are the people that died, and many, many more. Another bad year for celebrity deaths. This time last year, we were talking about 2016. It seemed like 2016, a celebrity was passing away every couple minutes. But what do you guys think about the people that died this past year?
Well, I mean, you just scratched the surface of a lot of different people that have passed away, and all different genres of entertainment, from the TV shows back.
Well, and age-wise, we're seeing people now from the golden age of television passing away, and they'll be passing away for the next. I mean, just the way it's lined up.
Yeah, the people that we grew up on are now making way for the newer generations, and of course, as you're seeing these, the people that you were your heroes, your go-tos, the people that gave you some really weird advice, and not like the advice you get from your weird uncle, like, hey, get me a beer and I'll tell you something. But, no, I mean, these are the people that, they learned, they had their craft going long before we even thought it was a craft.
Yeah.
They were our imagination before we knew what we were imagining. And
speaking of imagination, I almost forgot about Hugh Hefner.
Imagination.
Let's just say he got
go along together.
He got me through some tough times.
But no, there were a bunch of people that I saw as a kid, teenager, what have you, that they removed me from whatever was going on in my life, even if it was just for a half hour, an hour. Now. Sci-fi fans will remember Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica.
Which I didn't until you talked about when we were off the air. I didn't realize he passed away.
Yeah, he died February 7th. Bill Paxton from Twister.
Oh, yeah.
13. Judge Wapner.
Oh.
He died, again, in February. Sister Sledge, Joni Sledge, passed away. Chuck Berry. You mentioned Don Rickles. Charlie Murphy, who's Eddie Murphy's brother.
Oh, yeah.
He passed away.
He was on Chappelle's show.
Joni from Happy Days. Erin Moran, she passed away in April. Chris Cornell, Roger Moore.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Let's see. Well, it's Adam West.
Yeah, we were at a con when he passed. I mean,
we were at
now, I'm a sci-fi fan. I'm a fan of all these people, but actually, I think we're at Terracon when Bill Paxton passed away. Maybe we shouldn't go to any cons this year. We were at Terracon when Bill Paxton passed away, at Connecticut when Adam West passed away, and as much as I love these people at Connecticut were crying over the death of Adam West.
I was put back a little. I was upset. I was not crying. I was not openly weeping.
And he was at the previous Rhode Island Comic-Con, right?
Yeah. He was. I couldn't afford to go shake his hand. It was bad, and I wish I had the money. Now, looking back, I wish I had the money to go shake his hand, but that it was one of those things where he was there, now he's gone. I mean, how do you snap? And the only thing I can honestly tell you, how I recover from anything is drinking to their memory. And speaking of, if you don't mind, I'm going to
pour one out for your dead homies.
This is for the people that passed away in 2017.
And that was not a sound effect. That was the real deal.
That was a real deal. In fact, we're going to do a double shot because listen to this one.
In fact, FCC, if you're listening, this is called Chuckles Crypt.
Oh, no, we're not going there. This is the Haunted Cabaret.
See, I just cracked open a nice little bottle of Jameson and a nice cold beer, in memory of the people that passed in 2017.
Now, personally, 2017 has been a bad year for passing. One of the things that I relate to is between Chester and Chris Cornell.
Oh, yeah.
Depression, which is a big thing that people aren't really.
I forgot about poor Chester. Yeah,
they're not really taken seriously, and it's so serious where it's taken these two professional musicians' lives and everything. So, guys, if you're out there and you're listening to someone that's having issues with depression, pay close attention to them. If they need help, try to be there with them. Send them the number for the suicide prevention hotline, whatever it takes. Just try to be there with the people because it's an honest-to-God disease, and it doesn't care who you are.
Yeah.
Now, as far as Adam West is concerned, I had a sour visit with him. So I didn't really care when he passed away. I felt like, karma's coming around. Well, the man upstairs said, you're no different than anybody else in the world. You're done. So I wasn't really too saddened by him. Mary Tyler Moore, she was hot. That was kind of a, kicker. David Cassidy, that was kind of a punch. Chuck Berry, I liked his rock and roll, but I wasn't huge on him. I didn't have albums. I know he's big as far as being influential in the rock industry. Now, cool story about Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner himself, he likes the ladies not only in life, but he also likes the ladies in death. This lucky man has been tombed right around Marilyn Monroe. So he's got his casket right above hers. So I wonder if there is such thing as afterlife romance right there, if he did that on purpose. Tom Petty was a huge loss to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know a lot of people right now are going to boo me, but that's our version of a Beatle passing away. I love the Traveling Wilburys, but I love Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, period. I remember going to an Alice Cooper show at Foxwoods Casino, and he was down there in the crowd, and he had all security guards around him, and you couldn't get to see him. I really wish I had gotten to meet him. George Romero was a huge hit. Because if anybody knows outside there, Chuckles the Clown is a big zombie fan. And I personally had George Romero's, and I still do, not that it's going to do me any good now, phone number because I was working on a zombie script, and he told me when I was done with it to contact him. And every time I met him at a convention or anything, he still remembered who I was. I think it had a lot to do with the clown paint kind of sticking out.
Yeah, that's usually a good way to stick out in the crowd.
But he remembered giving me the number. He remembered I was working on the zombie flick, and he was always asking me, how's it going? I was able to ask him about his schooling and everything. He really was a nice man.
He would also sit and talk to whoever came up to his table for as long as they wanted to talk.
And if you were a real fan, which I am, not just somebody going there to get a video autographed and charge someone money for it online, I got a movie signed that not too many people know about called Martin, which is a vampire movie. Once I brought that up to him, he said, well, I definitely know that you're a fan of mine, so I'm not going to charge you for the autograph. Whereas everybody else in line was getting whacked $65, $70 for an autograph. But due to the fact that I was a fan, didn't charge me. Good story. The following year that I went to go see him for the Day of the Dead celebration, which was at Rockin Shock, he still didn't charge me for his autograph.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So the man knew that I was a fan, and every time I met him, he didn't charge me. So not only was he a great director, he was a great human being. So that was the one, definitely was a sad hit.
Well, now that we're all freshly depressed thinking about those who died in 2017, unfortunately, 2018 right around the corner. We'll soon be reporting on the first celebrity death of the new year, and it is, again, that time where when a celebrity passes away at the beginning of the year, by the time we're doing this next year and it's time to think about the new year, that celebrity, again, gets forgotten just based on when they passed away. I had forgotten about quite a few of the names that you guys mentioned just because it happened at the beginning of 2017. But you are 52 minutes and 22 seconds away from Monday, January 1st, 2018, if you can believe it. The next two tunes are related to the segment we just talked about. We're going to kick things off with the Sprites. This one, George Romero, and I got to say, you know, this song probably started off as a gimmicky type thing, kind of a Monster Mash type deal, but listen to it. I mean, this is a solid rock and roll tune, and it's called George Romero. Certainly music you're not going to hear anywhere else on those mainstream dials. No matter how far you go left, you're not going to hear anything like George Romero, but you are going to hear it here on Tony Jones's Rockin New Year's Eve broadcast.
Attention all shoppers. Attention all shoppers.
It's the end of the world. I wanna live inside a shopping mall. I wouldn't care about the isolation. I'm unconcerned about the Walking Dead. If it's the end of the world, I think I'd handle myself quite well. I wouldn't panic walking past the zombies. I'd try to catch up on some reading and movies. I know all I need to know. I know all I need to know. I learned everything from George Romero, Dario Argento, maybe Tom Savini, Stuart Gordon, and Sam Raimi. Did they plant the idea, or was it always in me? Do you find me creepy? Yeah, do I give you the creeps? It's the end of the world. We could gather half a dozen friends. We live in hiding over J.C. Penney. Construct a wall to keep the mutants out. When it's the end of the world, we land a helicopter on the rooftop. Somebody breaks in through a boarded entrance. Maybe we could make a run for it. I know all I need to know. I learned everything from George Romero, Dario Argento, maybe Tom Savini, Stuart Gordon, and Sam Raimi. But did they plant the idea, or was it always in me? Do you find me creepy? Now it's the end of the world. I always thought I would have been more careful. Didn't look to be a serious fight. Will you wait here till I come back to life? I learned everything from George Romero, Dario Argento, maybe Tom Savini, Stuart Gordon, and Sam Raimi. Did they plant the idea, or was it always in me? Do you find me creepy? Post-apocalyptic zombie survival fantasy.
I've been thinking, maybe we got a good thing going here. Maybe we shouldn't be in such a hurry to leave.
She grew up in an Indiana town, had a good-looking mama who never was around, but she grew up tall and she grew up right with them Indiana boys on an Indiana night. But she moved down here at the age of 18. She blew the boys away, it was more than they'd seen. I was introduced
then we both started grooving. She said I dig you, baby, but I got to keep moving on. Keep moving on. Last dance with Mary Jane. One more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again. Well, I don't know, but I've been told you never slow down, you never grow old. I'm tired of screwing up, I'm tired of going down, I'm tired of myself, I'm tired of this town. Oh my, oh hell yes. Honey, put on that party dress, buy me a drink, sing me a song, take me as I come, cause I can't stay long. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again. There's pigeons now on Market Square. She's standing in her underwear, looking down from a hotel room. The nightfall will be coming soon. Oh my, oh hell yes. You got to put on that party dress. It was too cold to cry when I woke up alone. I hit my last number, I walked to the road. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again.
breaks loose.
Boom, the name of that one. Some Never Shout Never right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast coming out of people who died. The reason I played that is because, well, they recently announced that 2018, it will be the last ever Warped Tour. Warped Tour, we'll be talking about it next year, dying in 2018, a celebrity death. I fat-fingered that a little bit before that, which I got to say, you know, we've been at this for quite some time now. I have had some adult beverages, and it was my first time fat-fingering. We heard Last Dance with Mary Jane, some Tom Petty, and the Sprites, little George Romero. You heard it all here, and chances are you're not going to hear it anywhere else but on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. 40 minutes, 37 seconds until Monday, January 1st, 2018. My name is Tony Jones. DJ Psycho Eddie is here. Chuckles the Clown is here. And I want to get back into some less morbid stuff, into talking about entertainment. And I want to talk about television, but I want to also keep in mind and respect the fact that technology is changing. A lot of people are cutting the cord. So when I talk about television, I mean short-form entertainment, whether it be Netflix, Hulu, if you've cut the cord this past year, if you're still watching it on TV. So television doesn't necessarily mean television, but what we have come to know as television. And as media changes, you know, this thing with cutting the cord continues. DJ Psycho Eddie, this past year, didn't you just cut the cord?
Yes, I did. Actually, sometime in, I think it was March. It was a long time coming because I was tired of spending hundreds of dollars for a box that I only got 2 hours a night, an hour a night.
Yeah.
And even at that, between gigs and everything else, I only watched it maybe twice, 3 times a month. And I went out. I got one of the Fire Sticks, the Amazon Fire Sticks. Being the do-it-yourselfer that I am, I installed it myself, and I even jailbroke the thing myself. So now I've got. I can't even tell you how many ungodly amount of porn that. Anytime you jailbreak one of the Fire Sticks, any one of those things, the first thing that's going to drop on it is porn. and, I mean, this stuff that I have a very open mind and a very diverse calendar of things that I have done in my life, and I cringe. There's some things I just can't even turn on, and it just makes me cringe. But for the most part, I mean, I stick with Netflix and YouTube because it's usually safe.
Yeah.
And
do you watch YouTube on your just regular television? You have that app?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. See, I don't have. I guess I do have that. Yeah, that's not something I think of accessing. But we're talking off the air. YouTube's the new TV, right?
It is. Right now, YouTube is going through a little transition where certain formats are not going to be playing. Like in my case, if you don't have a secondary browser, a secondary browser.
Browser?
No, not a porn browser. But if you're not using like Google Chrome for your Fire Stick, or if you're not using Silk or Red Fox, you will not be able to watch YouTube anymore. So they're restricting who can and can't get YouTube videos.
And they're talking about it being like a separate YouTube app at some point, right?
Well,
and you would just pull that up.
Currently in a YouTube app. Now it's going to, you have to view it through a secondary browser, but certain ones you don't have to, and it's very confusing. Basically, I wait for the pop-up, and I hit accept, and it's already changed over. I'm watching it now through a Silk browser, and it's as good, but you notice a little couple hiccups here and there. But Netflix, I'm actually starting to shy away from, because once you go through certain, I know the genres of stuff that I like, but once you get away from that, they got some real stupid and some really old crap on there too.
They have Netflix. I'm a big documentary watcher, and Netflix is a great place for documentaries. So I have all of them now. And I still have the cord. Plus I have Netflix. Plus I think we have Hulu on there. Plus I have the WWE Network. I know George Garner cut the cord recently. Chuckles, are you still? Do you still have cable?
I'm hanging on with a thread. We only have one cardboard box in the house. The only reason why we keep that is I like the show Walking Dead, and we also like Ghost Adventures and all other stuff. So we can't really get that up on Netflix and everything right now, especially Walking Dead stays exclusive to AMC. So we basically keep it around for that.
I think if I wasn't a local news and politics junkie, and if I wasn't a financial channel junkie, I would just be able to get rid of traditional cable.
Yeah, once we find out a way of watching those two shows without cable, it's gone.
Yeah,
I'll tell you off the air.
So that's now Netflix on my end of it. I've actually found a lot of good shows on Netflix as far as television shows, and I got maybe later on or right now I could tell you the 5 ones that nerds are dying to watch.
Well, let me just I just want to talk about one, speaking of nerds, that's on traditional television that I've watched every single episode, and that is The Orville, which is almost a parody of Star Trek. It's by Seth MacFarlane, but the show's actually intense. So even though it's supposed to be a parody and there's these funny spots, it's still like watching a sci-fi program, which has been awesome. I've seen every episode of that. I love this show called Shark Tank because I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. Unpopular opinion here, I still love The Simpsons. I try to rush out of here when I'm here on Sundays to watch the new episodes, and also on Fox, Bob's Burgers, which I love. Now, 20th Century Fox was just sold off to Disney, so we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, those are shows that I'm still religiously watching, and, of course, another unpopular opinion, watching wrestling on Monday nights and watching SmackDown. I still watch that on traditional television, but what's jumping out to you?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Can you believe the fact that now The Simpsons is going to be owned by Disney?
That's weird.
That to me is like, wow. What are they going to do with some of the adult shows that are on there, like Aliens and whatnot? I mean, that's 20th Century Fox. Are they going to cut it off?
20th Century Fox has put out some pervasive material over the years, to say the least.
I know one of the reasons they went for this is they've now cornered the market as far as Marvel's concerned.
Yeah.
Because X-Men was on that, Fantastic Four. Now it's their property. But the top 5 Netflix shows that nerds are dying to watch, because I'm one of those nerds. I'm going to do number 6, honorable mention, 1922. If you haven't seen this movie, it's a movie about in the 1920s, a gentleman kills his wife. And
that's applicable
what's
at
not
any
to like about that?
That's applicable at any time.
You may not condone it, but you can understand it.
Yeah. Number 5, this one was it's okay. I'm not a big fan of it, but a lot of you nerds out there are. The Punisher television show is kind of brutal.
Oh, yeah. That's
very brutal. Number 4, The Defenders, which is another Marvel thing out there, which it's okay. I think it's a little dry right now. It needs some really big villains to go inside of it, but it's all right. Number 3, if you haven't seen this yet, I definitely tell you to see this. The movie Castlevania, which is on Netflix. It's a short movie, but it is brutally bloody. And number 2, Troll Hunters, which if you haven't seen that cartoon, Volume 2 has come out, and Volume 1 it's on there. That's a good cartoon. Has Kelsey Grammer inside of it doing one of the voices and whatnot. I'm a big fan of that show. And the number 1 spot, if you guys have ever watched Dumb and Dumber, you know the gentleman that plays alongside Jim Carrey? I'm trying to remember his name.
I'm drawing a blank. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Now, he plays a Western character in this show called Godless. And it is brutal to the point where they show a gun wound that hits the guy in the arm, and you can see the bone and the chunks of the skin missing outside of it. And it's bloody brutal. If you guys are into a good Western that doesn't pull back the stops, I definitely recommend those.
There's a show I've been watching on, of all places, the History Channel, called Nightfall, and it's the same thing, man. It's on a little bit later. It's on at 10 o'clock. Just brutal. I mean, each episode is like a small movie.
Yeah. So Netflix says it's ups and downs. I don't own Hulu, so I can't give you Hulu Plus 10. So, you guys out there, maybe you guys got a Hulu Plus 5 that you can recommend to us, and maybe we'll check it out.
Also, we're talking about off the air, and I don't have the greatest of attention spans. There's a new, I guess it's a show or a documentary show on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us, and hugely interesting. I sat there and just watched all 4 episodes back to back and learned a ton of stuff. I could watch Netflix documentaries all day. They got great stuff on the Stones. They just put up a Tom Petty one. So it seems like these streaming areas are the place to be, as opposed to traditional television.
I absolutely love YouTube. I'll be one of those guys up there that I'm constantly checking out the YouTube stations. There's a couple up there that I'm going to give a shout out to because I subscribe to them. They subscribe to us. Speedy Diver, which is something that you and I we take to heart. It's dumpster diving, and it's behind.
I resemble that remark.
It's behind GameStop.
Nice.
And the guy ends up pulling in some pretty good hauls every now and then behind because GameStop's very wasteful. And my number one all-time favorite YouTube show is the Angry Video Game Nerd. If you haven't caught him yet, he goes back into like the Nintendo areas, Sega, and he's got a really comical show.
I'm not even a huge video game fan, and I love that YouTube channel.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
And see, as far as what I go for, I'm a very, very strong advocate for the Second Amendment. I watched Demolition Ranch. This guy, he started off, a couple years ago, and he was making his own shotguns, slugs. Instead of using the slug or the traditional, he would put in razor blades or he would put in bolts or
damn.
And like he actually, they say don't put the tip of your gun in the water because it'll explode. Well, he actually tested that theory and he blew up a shotgun barrel. He actually has 3 channels. It's Demolition Ranch, Vet Ranch, and Off the Ranch. Off the Ranch is just kind of a daily vlog where it's him and his family, and he goes, just basics, hey, we're going to remodel the kids' room, or hey, I just bought whatever. Vet Ranch, because the main person there, Matt Carricker, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I've been drinking a little, so you have to forgive me. He is a veterinarian in Texas, and he basically it's a way for you to see what he's doing because he has a nonprofit where you donate money. The money goes to help animals. Basically, if they pick up a dog on the street, he fixes them up and he adopts them out.
And from an entrepreneurial aspect, YouTube is making people millionaires. I just watched a story on the lady on there who makes slime, and she just bought her parents a house off of her money from YouTube. So as much as they're a big company, they're very generous to their content creators. And Video Game Nerd, I know, is in that area. Francis is in that same area where he pays his mortgage off of making content for YouTube, something that 10 years ago did not even exist, and now it's making millionaires.
Well, there's even you look at 1320 videos, which is all illegal street racing. Basically, not all of it, but it started off as illegal street racing, and now they go to racing events, and they do step by step how to build the cars. Certain cars. Well, there is a spin-off of that, which is the Cletus McFarlane channel. Yeah. Which is what he started off helping out 1320. He currently has a C5 Corvette, twin turbo, over 1,000 horsepower, and he is currently the fastest Corvette in the world.
Damn.
He does a quarter mile in under 9 seconds.
Damn.
And this is a somewhat street legal vehicle. So that's another one that I go to. I'm a gearhead. I like guns. I like blowing stuff. I'm a good, red-blooded American. Give me some alcohol and some, demolition. I'm a happy camper.
Now, speaking of YouTube, the Chuckles and Laughs show is going to be transitioning to a new YouTube channel, correct?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. We got some footage that's stored up. It should be happening within the next week or two. which you can find out. We'll send an ad through Rhode and of course Albert H. Berger's Facebook page. You can check that out there. We're going YouTube because cable access is dying.
Yeah.
And for us, it costs a lot more to be on cable access than it does YouTube. Whereas YouTube, we could actually make money. Cable access, we were sinking too much money into it. And we weren't, I mean, you guys out there, if you don't know, but providing a good cable access television show, even with the cheesiest of cheese, any given time, one of those episodes costs us anywhere from $300 to $400 to make it.
Which, by the way, is why on cable access, some of it ain't so good.
Right, because they're not putting the money or the time in.
See those two dusty potted plants in the background.
I got to say, $300 to $400. That's, I think, my monthly budget for My Night Out Radio's alcohol. And I think the content, you're probably putting out a little bit better content than I am.
Not much.
Well, let's get back to the music. If you can believe it, it is 25 minutes and 18 seconds until January 1st, 2018. It feels like we just sat down. And I think we've given you a pretty good overview of music and entertainment from 2017. When we come back, we'll talk about a little bit about what we're looking forward to in 2018. But before you know it, it'll be time to count down that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 into 2018. Again, thank you for everybody that's been checking in and hitting us up. And let's get back to the music now. Unfortunately, this falls back into the dying category because these guys called it quits this past year, but they've been in studio with us. We're going to hear from 30 Silver up next. Dark and Sinister Man, Have It Thee. You heard it here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. Pedestrian at Best, the name of that one, a big release for Courtney Barnett. Before that, unfortunately, like our earlier segment, they died this past year. 30 Silver called it quits. Dark and Sinister Men have it thee. You heard it here on Tony Jones's Rockin New Year's Eve broadcast. We are, if you can believe it, it feels like we just sat down 16 minutes, 52 seconds until January 1st, 2018, ringing in a new year. I got to send a big shout out to the master of radio, Ron Ash, checking in with us and kind enough to share the program's Spreaker page. Thank you for checking in, and glad to see you. I haven't heard from Ron in a while, so it's great to hear from him. And Lenny checking in with us again. Chuckle's biggest fan, Lenny the Loon. Great to hear from you and everybody else checking in on social media. Glad you're up. Glad you're having fun. Glad you're staying safe. Don't forget that if you need an Uber, that's the best way home. You don't want a Dewey. And
actually, I got a little bit of an Uber update for you. If you are familiar with Uber platform, you know about Surge. Currently, most of the state of Rhode Island is about 1.2 to 1.4 Surge, which means you're paying an extra 20 to 30% for your ride, which still isn't bad.
Still less than $10,000 for a DUI lawyer.
That's right. And as I'm looking at the map right now, from the Massachusetts line in Pawtucket all the way down to Cranston, parts of Warwick, then it jumps over where the airport is, and then East Greenwich again is at 1.2 to 1.5. So if you're anywhere in those areas, be prepared for that. Just a little bit extra money, between 20 to 30% more money for your ride home, but still far cheaper than a Dewey or
still worth it. Now, as a former East Greenwich resident, I can assure you that East Greenwich gets sloppy on New Year's Eve, as it does on St. Patrick's Day, which will be the next big holiday we'll be celebrating here. And I don't think I ever mentioned it on the air, but I lived in East Greenwich at St. Patrick's Day. All hell's breaking loose, but, I normally ignore those things. But it gets towards, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and there's a guy standing outside of my window. Now, I don't really care, but my girlfriend was upset by it. There's a guy standing outside the bedroom window. So I go out, I grab a baseball bat in my pajamas with a full beard, and I, nicely try to approach this guy and say, hey, you're standing out in front of my window. And the guy just started bawling, crying, and in tears said, I'm just looking for my car, man. And, I'm a pretty good judge of character. He was just wasted looking for his car. But, man, I scared the dickens out of this poor guy with my Louisville Slugger at closing time. Wearing a nice shirt and a nice sweater, preppy kid, maybe in his 20s, maybe one of his first times going out drinking. And I'm sure when he got home and was told his friends that he was accosted by the Jolly Green Giant, I'm not sure if anybody believed him, but I just did take the bat with me for protection. 2018 just around the corner in 13 minutes and 42 seconds. We'll swing back to the music. This band, for me, one of the best shows I played was with this band. Tony Jones and the Cretin 3 played with this band, the Safes and the Nymphadels, in Newport. My first time playing in Newport in quite a long time. And it was great to meet these guys. They gave me a bunch of CDs. I hope you can check out the Safes. We'll hear 2 from them as we roll into the new year, starting with Hopes Up, Guard Down. The Safes right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast.
Exceptional, you meet my credentials with your hopes up, guard down. Wrapped around my finger, running all over town. Hopes up, guard down. Wrapped around my finger, running all over town. Lips lick at thoughts of turning the smile into a down. Your thoughts, your emotion, I love just need to escape. You're just trying to read, but I'm always standing in your light. You're just trying to sleep, but I always wake you up to apologize. Sorry, I don't laugh at the right time.
There, the name of that one, The Wonder Years, right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. Before that, two from The Safes, a band that I have been turned on to this past year. I got to play with them, Jimmy's Saloon in Newport, and just a fantastic band. As I mentioned before on my show, I've been through quite a few of their releases now, the ones they sent me before the gig to promote, and the CDs, the physical CDs they gave me that night, and I have not been able to find one bad track from The Safe, so I suggest that you check them out. And I think in the spring of the new year, they'll be heading back out on tour, and made friends with those guys, hope to bring them back to town. If you can believe it, 5 minutes and 12 seconds until the new year. That's right, Monday, January 1st, 2018. Tony Jones here. DJ Psycho Eddie is here. Chuckles the Clown is here. Is there anything you guys are particularly looking forward to in the new year, and also as we wrap up the program, anything you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I could go over the fact that I would like to have a year that doesn't suck. The last three have sucked. That's not cool. If I have a real quick time, I'm going to list the top 10 movies of 2017.
And we're talking off the air. You know, I caught a few flicks, but there wasn't that big movie where I said I have to go during that debut.
Now
in years past, you know, I would go at midnight and the night before, but there was nothing that I had to get to.
These are my top 10, so don't get pissed off at me if I don't list one of your favorite movies out there, listeners. All right, number 10, Transformers Last Night. Number 9, Kong. Number 8, Bright with Will Smith. That was a Netflix exclusive. Number 7, Logan. The last time you'll see Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. Number 6, War for the Planet of the Apes. Really good flick.
Yeah, that was good.
Number 5, Justice League. I enjoyed it, although a lot of people did not.
Yeah, there's an unpopular opinion right there that you enjoyed it.
Number 4, Spider-Man Homecoming. Really good flick. Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Funny as hell. Number 2, Wonder Woman. And number 1 is another one that's a like it or hate it. It was the Star Wars The Last Jedi. That was all the top 10 Chuckle's favorite movies of 2017.
3 minutes and 25 seconds until the new year. How about you, DJ Psycho Any?
Well, I got my, being that I retired, I've been booked for a few more shows. I'm coming out of retirement less than 6 months after retiring. I'm working with Twisted, with Green Jelly.
I'm looking forward to seeing Green Jelly again. Yeah, I've caught them quite a few times over the years.
Sess Carney is retiring from his hardcore show, but not his torture show. So, I don't know where to go with that. I got that, and in March I'm going to be working with Hatebreed. Be hanging out with them for a day or so. So those are the two things I'm really looking forward to right now. I'm looking forward to not having to do any more construction work at my house, at least for the at least a couple of months. I look like we got about 2 minutes left. So if you got something you're looking for, Tony.
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to checking out, a few bands that are coming into town, Green Jelly being one of them. Murphy's Law is going to be returning to Rhode Island, but they're going to be returning to Richmond Street, playing at Alchemy, and I cannot even describe to you the numbers of times I've seen Murphy's Law on Richmond Street, either at Hell or upstairs at Jerky's, so it's going to be...
Last time I saw Murphy's Law was at Hell, and I literally watched someone's nose explode in the pit. The guy turned, his fist caught him just the right way. His nose exploded down his shirt. Security went all crazy. After the guy stopped bleeding, like literally 15 minutes later, the two guys were just hanging out at the bar, having a beer and just shooting the crap like nothing ever happened.
Also, I think next weekend, Full Blown Chaos is going to be coming to Richmond Street again in Alchemy. And, I can't say enough about what's going on at Alchemy, and it is it's weird and cool to see the same people that were hanging out on that street 15, 20 years ago are now
coming back.
Yeah, checking out Alchemy. They're a little bit older. They can't drink as much. They move quite a bit slower, and they're back out on Richmond Street.
I got to tell you, if Alchemy took over the first floor, I would be there a lot more. Those stairs are daunting to it. Not so much on the way up, but on the way down. Yeah. After you've had a few. I may or may not have gone down that flight of stairs unassisted a few times, but I was assisted more than not.
And, playing there, moving equipment is quite painful, and I've definitely taken a tumble down those stairs a few times. And also, I moved everybody's equipment down the stairs, left it on the curb, and left for the evening one time. Not only my band's equipment, but Dory and James's equipment. I left on the curb and went home and just plain forgot that it was my job to stay down with the equipment while everybody, moved their cars around and pulled out to the front of the club. I moved, probably $5,000 worth of equipment to the curb and went home. Luckily, Providence was a kinder, gentler place at that point. We're at it now. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
It is January 1st, 2018. Counting it down. What is going to be the first tune to be on Rhode Island Free Radio on the Tony Jones Show? On Tony Jones's Rockin New Year's Eve broadcast on 2018. Well, what I say is that what's old is new again. And as everybody gets those New Year's Eve text messages from friends they haven't talked to in years and contacts that aren't even in their phone anymore, and the Wi-Fi spikes, and the Uber ride spike, and the Uber Eats ride spikes, instead of moving forward, we're going to go backwards. We're going to go with a classic for 2018. We're going to kick things off with the Trash Men, Surfin' Bird, right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. If you're still partying, turn it up.
Oh, well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Bird is a winner. Well, a bird, bird, bird. Well,
And I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder. One of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse. There's a man going round taking names, and he decides who to free and who to blame. Everybody won't be treated all the same. There'll be a golden ladder reaching down when the man comes around. The hairs on your arm will stand up at the terror in each sip and in each sup. Will you partake of that last offered cup, or disappear into the potter's ground when the man comes around? Hear the trumpets, hear the pipers, 100 million angels singing. Multitudes are marching to the big kettle drum. Voices calling, voices crying. Some are born and some are dying. It's Alpha and Omega's kingdom come. And the whirlwind is in the thorn tree. The virgins are all trimming their wicks. The whirlwind is in the thorn tree. It's hard for thee to kick against the pricks. Till Armageddon, no shalom, no shalom. Then the father hen will call his chickens home. The wise men will bow down before the throne, and at his feet they'll cast their golden crowns when the man comes around. Whoever is unjust, let him be unjust still. Whoever is righteous, let him be righteous still. Whoever is filthy, let him be filthy still. Listen to the words long written down when the man comes around. Hear the trumpets, hear the pipers, 100 million angels singing. Multitudes are marching to the big kettle drum. Voices calling, voices crying. Some are born and some are dying. It's Alpha and Omega's kingdom come. And the whirlwind is in the thorn tree. The virgins are all trimming their wicks. The whirlwind is in the thorn tree. It's hard for thee to kick against the pricks. In measured hundredweight and penny pound, when the man comes around.
The first two tunes here in 2018, kicking things off right on Rhode Island Free Radio. When the Man Comes Around, you just heard some Johnny Cash on Tony Jones's Rockin New Year's Eve broadcast, and before that, the Trashmen, Surfin' Bird. That song has been a part of my life since I've had ears, since I could hear, since I started loving rock and roll, so I couldn't think of a better way to kick off the new year right. And with that, we are just about out of time right here on Tony Jones's Rockin' New Year's Eve broadcast. In the new year, the Tony Jones Show will continue to create great independent media, as we will on Rhode Island Free Radio. Don't forget to tune into my show. Don't forget to tune in to Chuckles Crypt. Don't forget to tune in to My Night Out Radio. And I want to thank you guys for being a part of this broadcast once again this year and spending New Year's Eve here in luxurious, scenic, plush West Warwick, Rhode Island, in the Rhode Island Free Radio studios.
Hey, I'm just glad we had heat this year.
Yeah, true. I think we definitely, actually, one of the reasons why I got here early was not only to turn the heat on, but to make sure we had heat, because as committed as I am to independent media, this is one of the coldest New Year's on record, literally in the history of time, that they've been taking temperatures on New Year's. So, unfortunately, folks, if there wasn't heat down here, I was turning around and going back to Wickford. I want to thank you guys again all for tuning in, spending this time with me. And don't forget that you can, if you missed part of the show, or you missed the beginning of the show, or you got in halfway, I'll have the podcast up in, I don't know, give me till 12:15 and I'll have the podcast up. So thank you guys again for being here. Thank you guys all for tuning in. A few more tunes to bring you out, because I know you're still partying, you still need the soundtrack. So I got some Albert King on the way and some Independence on the way. But up next, we'll hear from Cherub. Again, just a perfect title song for your New Year's Eve. Here's Doses and Mimosas. Have fun, be safe. Don't forget that Uber is your friend. And continue to listen to the Tony Jones Show in Rhode Island Free Radio in 2018. Good night, everybody. Bye.
I've come to embrace it. It's all overrated, except drugs and alcohol.
So with that being said, ow.
To all the bitch assholes that hate me the most, oh yeah, I hate you too. To all the punk ass fucks that just wanna talk shit, I hate you too. To all the high class ass that's too hard to pass, oh yeah, I hate you too. Hey. Doses and mimosas, champagne and cocaine, how to get me through.
I wanna be your personal manager, baby. I wanna do everything I can for you. I wanna be your personal manager, baby. I wanna do everything I can for you. Yes, I wanna be right there beside you, little girl. When all of your so-called friends are through. If you sign my contract, baby, you know all your worries is over for you. Sign my contract, baby. You know all of your worries is over for you. Yeah, I wanna be your milkman every morning, your ice cream man when the day is through. I wanna be with you, baby. Heads up. so you can stay at home. You can rest for sure, little girl, that I won't let nothing go down wrong. I want to be your personal manager, baby. I want to do everything I can for you. Yes, I want to be your milkman every morning, your ice cream man when the day is through.